your girl Cameron, and I'm back at it again with another video. And today we are going to be talking about Swarm and what it says about stan culture. Donald Glover dropped the show called Swarm in 2023, and social media has been raving about it due to its satirical commentary on stan culture. It takes it a step further though in showing the more obsessive and dark side of what that world really looks like. Just to clarify, I understand that stan culture isn't the entire portion of the story, that there is clearly something deeper going on here. However, the satirical nature of the show is definitely commentating on stan culture, and that's what I wanted to focus on today. And today I wanted to talk about the show, but also connect it to the bigger issue of stan culture and how far it has gotten. Stick around towards the end of the video if you would like to see like my overall commentary on the show, my thoughts. But we're really gonna break this down and make it full circle. Like, comment down below, what did you guys think of the show Swarm as itself, as just a body of work? And also tie it back to the stan culture conversation. And hit that subscribe button down below. We hit 3,000 subscribers, guys. I just want to thank every single person who has subscribed to me, who has followed me on my journey. And I don't know, it just means the world to me because I've been making videos for years now. And, you know, as slow as the train might be moving, it's moving. And be sure to hop on the train before it takes off. And without further ado, let's just get straight into the commentary. Let's talk about the Swarm synopsis. So Swarm is a commentary on an obsessive fan named Dre Green. It's a fictional story, and she is a girl obsessed with the pop star Nyjah, who is supposed to be our Beyonce. It's a satirical show, so the show is clearly resembling Beyonce and her hive, hence the Swarm. What Donald Glover does before each episode is he says, it is not a coincidence that this show resembles any real life figures. So if you feel that way, run with it, right? We all know that they're talking about Beyonce. And it's a cultural commentary on the lengths stans will go to defend their queen. Dre will spend an absurd amount of money, time, and dedication to Nyjah, and she will even go as far as murder to defend her honor. Another important part of the story is when her foster sister Marissa dies. That seems like when Dre snapped and she went off the deep end, because at this point we had no knowledge of her killing anybody prior. So that's like the show wrapped in a pretty little bow and packaged. Now, to connect this to what stan culture is today, because I think it's important in the context of how they built the show. What is a stan? A stan is a combination of a stalker and fan. It's the words put together. And it was coined by Eminem in his 2000 song called Stan. The term has now evolved as an action word, like quote unquote, I stan. This term has also become so common that we just start to exchange or interexchange the word with the word fan, right? Even for a non-obsessive fan. Kind of like when Spotify Wrapped happens and there's like that 0.01% of fans. You are in that percentile. That is like when you might consider yourself a stan, even if you're not obsessive. What are the levels of a stan? We have one, the undercover fan. The one who's nonchalant about their like for an artist, but the like goes deep. They probably listen to every album. They might not be going to every show, but they're a little low-key about it. Like when you go on their social media, you probably won't know they're a fan, but it's there. Then you have the quote-unquote normal fan, the person who will probably like retweet, talk about their favorite artist on social media, right? It's no secret. There's a normal relationship between fan to artists. They're not obsessive over them, but it's clear that they really love their music, and they do make that known in certain scenarios. You have three, the t-shirt fan, right? You're wearing the merch, you're wearing the memorabilia, you're paying, you're spending that money to represent your favorite artist and support that artist. Number 4, we're gonna say the I'll spend thousands on you fan. We see Dre do this, but the fan that will spend thousands of dollars to sit on the floor to watch you front row, right? They might spend money to travel to another city to go see you if they can't see you in their home state. We're getting to a boundary where it's like, I love you so much that I will spend my last paycheck on you. And then we have the Twitter account fan. This is where we start getting into dangerous territory. I will say, I do think I had an Ariana Grande stan account, now that I think about it, when I was like 15. maybe 14. Never vicious, but nevertheless, I had one. So, I've been there. But the Twitter account fan is someone who hides behind an Abby or a profile picture of their favorite celebrity. Their identity is relatively unknown. And they just post updates on the celebrity. They interact with the celebrity. And they may even go as far as arguing with other people on the timeline over that, defending them. It's like they're little guard dogs that aren't being paid to be guard dogs. That is probably the most common manifestation of stan. Like, you're borderline weird, especially when you are grown and you have a stan account. And then we have the I am obsessed with you and no one loves you more than me fan. You're starting to take these personal feelings, prop it on a pedestal, and attribute it to a person who doesn't know you. And it starts to become concerning. Then you got the I'll beat a bitch up for you fan. The one that's in the comments literally fighting people, trying to square up with people for not liking their artist or for having opinions on their artist. They will physically put themselves in harm's way to defend this person. And now we're getting to the top. The I will kill you fan, right? They're so obsessed with the celeb that they would harm them or stalk that actual celebrity, the person that they claim to love, in order to be closer to them. If they can be associated with them in any way, that's good enough for them. That is their goal. And we'll talk about some examples in real life that we've seen that resemble this kind of fan. And then lastly, there's Dre. Out of everything I just listed, there is Dre Green. She is everything rolled into one. Your like for this person starts out normal and it slowly gets deranged and twisted the deeper you get. Dre is like the grandmaster, the final level, the big boss of stans, the stan of all stans. Stan culture manifests in large part due to Twitter communities and groups. The fact that we can connect with people through social media so easily. And I know most of my videos, I'm like, social media is the reason, but it's so significant that it's unavoidable. The fact that you can communicate with people who love the same artist as you so easily, it creates an echo chamber. It creates a group of people who condone and endorse unnormal to deranged behavior, right? And the fact that fans can interact with their favorite artists like never before. Previously, you had to be at a concert, you had to get a meet and greet to really feel close to an artist. But now, artists have created chat rooms. Some will even go live with their fans, right? And that's not saying that the artist is wrong for like flexing that ability, but it's the fact that there's some people who are so mentally unstable that they abuse that, right? And then that has created and spiraled this whole specific community of people that are obsessed with you, right? Connecting this back to the Swarm show, think about episode 5 where Dre recounts a fake scenario that she does Nija's mom's makeup and they go for dinner regularly. She even begins to cry as she recounts this fake story that she's created. Like, these people get so wrapped up into their love for a person that they actually start to believe that there is a relationship there, or that there could be. And we know that a stan will praise their idol while tearing down anyone who objects with even an honest and fair opinion about their fate. We see Dre has a Twitter in this show, just like many stans, right? We just talked about the Twitter account fan. And anyone who even said Nija was overrated was met with haste, and in cases, murder. They were killed. And there were a couple of fans, right? Like Ralph.
My bad, y'all. I think his name is Reggie in the show. Forgive me, I call him Ralph for the rest of the time.
In the show, who was saying misogynistic, disgusting, and horrible things about a celebrity. And kind of like in my last video, I said, celebrities are people too. Like, let's not get it twisted. We should all be able to see the humanity in these people, to the point where you're not just trashing them for trash's sake. However, there's never an excuse as a fan of somebody to dox someone, go as far as murdering somebody, right? Or physically harming them or stalking them. As extreme as it seems, people might not go as far as murdering people like Dre does, but stans get seemingly agitated and aggressive when someone doesn't find their favorite artist to be as good as you might think that they are. And it's factual. I've seen it. As soon as you say, nah, she's not that good, like, she's all right. I've seen you guys attack people and ruin their lives over an opinion. For instance, when Dre got Ralph's information, he was doxxed on the internet because of his mean tweets towards Nija. It's never that serious. Dre got to him, found where he lived, stalked him, and killed him because of his tweets.
Who's your favorite artist? Cody Blaze has a total of 1 Grammy. Naja has 26. You said she could die tomorrow and you wouldn't miss one song.
You know, this might sound kind of crazy, but this reminds me of the fan situation with Nicki Minaj. A YouTuber by the name of For Harriet had made a tweet saying, quote, "Nicki is so clearly a horrible person. Negativity sticks to her like glue." And I don't know if we've ever seen this before. Barbs were upset. I would argue, you know, I know the show is about Beyonce, but the Barbs take the cake in my opinion. They were sending death threats to For Harriet. They found where her old apartment was. They were showing up to her old apartment building. They knew where her brother went to school. They were threatening her.
Currently outside waiting, open up. I will literally murder you to this song. I hope you get AR'd. Don't care how secure your building is. It's not enough. It's not secure enough to prevent guns and fire.
It was crazy to the point where she even threatened to file a lawsuit against these fans because of how horrible it was getting. Nicki has even gone as far to support the violent behavior and inadvertently partaken in it herself. I understand as a celebrity, you are allowed to not like people who don't like you. Like, I'm not saying Nicki had to stand up for Kimberly. But when there's bigger implications and there's a bigger picture at hand, you don't have the right to greenlight your fans. And for this For Harriet situation, there was proof of her liking tweets that were about this Kimberly girl that were inherently violent, borderline. Nicki has proven to condone or endorse some of this behavior. And the difference is that as crazy as Beyonce fans are, Beyonce is mute. Like, she's pretty hush. The delusions that her fans have are usually self-fed. Beyonce doesn't really interact with her fans. So that's where I think the Barbs kind of go a little far. Regardless, the doxing situation has been done. We've seen it many times. And this Nicki Minaj situation was one of the most recent times that I've seen it go way too far. And stans even go as far as harming their fave or becoming a danger to them. Like I said, this is the stan that is the "I love you so much, I would harm you." Ariana Grande had a stalker, and a slew of celebs who have been granted restraining orders from their obsessive fans. Aaron Brown, he was arrested September, I believe, of 2021 at her LA home after showing up with a large hunting knife, allegedly screaming at her security, "I will effing kill you and her." This resembles exactly how Dre bit Nyjah when she finally met her. That odd scene where we didn't see her bite it, and we find out after that scene that she really bit her. She had did everything she could to stalk her, get close enough, and when she did, she hurt her.
The scene where Dre bit Nyjah is actually modeled after a real scenario that allegedly happened. At a party, at a Hollywood party, an alleged actress bit Beyonce in the face and ended up alleging that it was Sanaa Lathan who bit her. And you even see when a made-up celebrity goes on the quote-unquote Helen show, this actually happened in real life where John Legend was questioned about Beyonce being bit.
On the face. As we know who it was, and we're not talking.
When you connect the dots to a scene like this, you realize how satirical the show actually is. And if you didn't understand those reference points, you would probably be looking for a deeper meaning in scenes like Dre biting Nyjah. And that's why at the end of the scene where Dre runs out of the party in humiliation, the two workers are sitting on the ledge and he says, "Hey, isn't that girl from Love and Basketball?" And that would be referencing Sanaa Lathan because in real life, that was who allegedly bit Beyonce. So again, there are some actual references that they did not try to be subtle about.
That's where the show is starting to parallel, right? As outlandish as the show seemed, it's really not. It happens more than we like to think. And if anything, it's clear that Dre, along with other stans, are so mentally unstable. As much as their behavior may not manifest like Dre's, it's beyond alarming. And you could see how it could become an echo chamber where you guys start gassing each other up and you start to think that maybe it's okay. Remember the documentary episode where they interviewed a Beyonce fan, and Beyonce fan was just talking about their love for her, kind of like as a fellow hive or swarm perspective. And he was like, "Murder? Nah, I wouldn't go that far to murder." And then they like sit there and he thinks about it and he's like, murder. Nah, I wouldn't do that. Would I? Like, he was kind of going back and contemplating. We see that they live vicariously through their faves, and it's really scary. It's very alarming, and it goes back to parasocial relationships. You live through these celebrities as if you know them. They don't know you exist. To kind of end or close the video up, I want to talk about what Swarm was trying to say. Overall, this show was very different. I appreciate different. I appreciate something that keeps me on my toes. And when the preview came out, for some reason, that preview misled maybe some viewers into what they were going to be seeing. I knew some people, after they watched the first episode, they were like, I'm not watching this anymore. I thought this was going to be funny. I thought this was going to be a little more lighthearted. You know, to be honest, I never got like funny comedy vibes from it. However, I do think the show got a little bit lost in translation towards maybe the fifth episode. What were they trying to say? And for reference, the fifth episode was when Dre goes back to her foster family's home, where she wants to force them to turn Marissa's phone back on. And this is also where they accuse Dre of killing her, foster sister or former foster sister, Marissa. We started to lose, what is this show trying to say? I think also the short episodes and the short season didn't really help. There was a lot of skipping around. So yeah, I was very confused and I wanted to know, like, did she really kill Marissa? Because that was a thought in my mind. But then they didn't really explain the foster thing until later. And then there was a lot of hopping, skipping, jumping. I would have liked them to take their time a little bit more with the series. I feel like the show was almost more of a commentary on making sure people are more careful on shit-talking artists or having opinions on artists, because crazy stans will come after you and dox you. I think it was more about that, more than making sure it was a cautionary tale for stans. Maybe that's where the satirical element comes in though. Like, I think they wanted to make it memeable, funny, and catchy. Kind of camp though, more of a camp adaptation of it. But I got more of the don't talk shit about Beyonce or Nicki Minaj or, Taylor Swift or Selena Gomez, because bitch, their fans will kill you. But I almost feel like the way that stans have been coming lately, like, it really should have, I think, been more heavily focused on you guys have mental issues and you need help. I mean, if you go on Twitter right now and you see the timeline, it's just a bunch of memes of stan pages like using Dre's picture when it comes to like scenarios, and I'll post pictures of them so you guys get an idea. And I'm not sitting here saying like the show has to be taken completely seriously, but I think for one of the first shows as its kind, it would have been, people were already so invested and captivated before the show even came out. I think it should have been driven home a little bit more. There's a silly thread saying unpopular opinions on Nyjah, where Twitter users say glowing things to avoid being killed or stalked by an obsessive fan like Dre. So again, I think more people took that out of the show, and if that's what they wanted, fine. But I kind of had the impression when I first started watching, I'm like, oh, this is really going to have stans thinking about themselves, right? In a critical way. But I don't think it shaped out to be like that. However, I do think the show did a great job of highlighting how absolutely disturbing stan culture would be. And I think in large part, it was because of Dominique Fishback. She did a great job playing and encapsulating that character. It was very uncomfortable to watch the show, very creepy and eerie, whether it was the kills or how she would binge eat after committing a murder. Her blank stares and obsessive tendencies. I mean, talk about the Damson Idris and Chloe Bailey scene, the sex scene. It wasn't as much about the sex as it was Dre was just sitting there watching like a creep, right? And I think that was the point of that scene. And I think the show was casted excellently. We had Paris Jackson, right? Her character was so ironic considering who her father is.
I mean, I ran away from my last relationship because he couldn't accept me being black.
You're black?
Yeah. My dad's half.
But then you had Billie Eilish, who did a stellar job acting, and Dominique Fishback was excellent. So I think the casting was superb. I thought that the documentary episode was genius. I think that was one of my favorite episodes because we finally started to get answers. But let's talk about it. Can we get a spinoff with Detective Green? Because I would watch that again. The Delusion was shown, but was mainly shown, particularly in the last scene, where Dre thought she was in the car with Nyjah. And honestly, I was confused at that ending. I was like, I know we did not go through this whole season just for her to meet her and to drive off in the sunset with her. But if you watched episode 6 first, as you should have, and you connected the dots, Dre actually was escorted off stage. She was literally handcuffed, taken off stage in that 6th episode, in the documentary episode. But from Dre's perspective, her delusional behind thought that she got into a car with Nigel. And I think that was to speak to Dre's utter delusion, that it really didn't play out how she thought. So I thought there were some very interesting twists and turns. However, the jumping around, the order, the timeline, the skipping details, the fast pace of the show wasn't my favorite. But I like how they push boundaries. They did something a little different. Was it supposed to be a laugh and become memeable, or was it really to highlight the danger of stan culture? Was it to do both? Was it to really strike the group of people and flip the mirror back on these stans, back on themselves? So with that being said, like, comment down below. What did you guys think of Swarm? What do you guys think of stan culture and commentary on it? And do you think that there should be a season 2? Please hit the subscribe button down below. I appreciate your support. Anybody who wants to subscribe, I promise I'm coming with the heat. And I appreciate you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you guys in my next video.